NoNonsenseKnowHow here, and today's going to be a quick video sharing some tips on how to diagnose air conditioning that's intermittent or not working on a Honda 2.4 liter. This is a 2007 Honda CRV with around 220,000 miles or so. And so let me show you what we're dealing with. When this car came in, the AC was blowing cold when I originally pulled it in, and then it stopped blowing cold. So let's see if it comes on right now. So pushing the AC switch, I hear no compressor engagement and blowing hot. So after verifying that the AC was not working, the compressor wasn't coming on, I took some gauges and hooked up to the low side and high side. And on my AC machine here, or you can use a set of gauges, I had good static readings of around 100 psi. Freon, it doesn't matter how much is in the system, as long as it's actually according to temperature. So if it's 90 degrees outside, you'll have 90 psi in there. And but regardless, as long as you have around the ambient temperature in psi or a little bit above, then that's not your problem. Now, if you hooked your gauges up and the pressure was down to 20 psi, you would want to go ahead and find your leak, because that would be why your AC compressor is not coming on. The computer won't allow it to turn on if the pressure is too low. I then broke out my power probe, and we're going to move on to the fuse box. If you haven't used one of these before, very handy tool when it comes to electrical diag. So your underhood fuse box is right here. Pull up on those two tabs. And unlike a lot of vehicles, Honda does show you the labeling on them. So you can see the fronts right there. And this is your AC relay, compressor relay right there. That's going to be this one. So popping that one out of there, you can hear my fan just came on because this engine's idling right now. It's hot. I'm going to do a couple checks. So looking at the relay, these two smaller pins we're looking at right there, the silvery ones, that's the control side of the relay. That's the computer side. And then these big heavy copper ones, that is the load side. So that's the compressor side, compressor clutch. So knowing that, we can check this pin, and we have 14 volts there. So we know the fuse going to the AC compressor is good. If you didn't have 14 volts on this wire, then you would want to go and check your fuses. I'm going over here. Also 14 volts on this one, so that means that fuse is good as well for the AC compressor. Now going to this one, right now the AC switch is on. This I have no signal at all. So that means that the computer is not telling the AC compressor to come on. And if I go to this one, sorry if I'm rushing this, guys. I gotta get this car out of here actually in a second, but this is ground, and that should be the compressor clutch. So if I hit this, we should hear the compressor clutch come on. Boom, it does. And I verified that it was blowing cold after that. So we know everything from this relay down to the compressor is all good. All that wiring is good, and the compressor clutch is good as well. Now, if you want, you can also check your relay by either swapping it with another one or energize the two silver pins with negative and positive, and you should hear it click and then have continuity between the two copper pins. But we know this isn't getting signal from the computer, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's move on. So I then went and printed out a wiring diagram, and I'm going to just try to hold this steady, so if you want to pause it and maybe be able to zoom in and take a look at these for yourself. I don't know if that's going to help or not, since it's kind of far away in the video. But now we know the computer is not telling the AC to come on, and so that could be a multitude of problems, but I will tell you the most common one with Hondas is the thermal switch on the compressor. So that's what I was thinking off the rip. But a few issues it could also be is an engine coolant temperature sensor, but that's usually going to set an engine light if that was too high, or you'll be knowing if you're overheating. AC pressure sensor. Now, if you don't have enough pressure in the system, obviously it won't turn on. But if this switch is bad, or the sensor is bad, then it's going to tell the computer, hey, there's not enough pressure, even if there is enough pressure in the system. So that's something that could be. Also, your evaporator temperature. If it sees the evaporator temperature too low, it will also turn the AC compressor off. But that's diving in a little further than you have to go if you have one of these, because where is it? All right, so the AC compressor is right here, and this is your thermal protector. So check out the method I used to verify this was my problem. I've got the engine running, the blower on high, and the AC turned on. Of course, it's still blowing warm. And I'm on a lift, so this is gonna be a lot easier. If you're in a driveway, you know, you might have to jack it up in the front to get a little bit of clearance to do what I'm gonna show you here. And now let's see if I can get you a good view of the AC compressor. Watch out, because the engine's running, so don't stick your hand over by the belt, of course. You gotta be careful, but these two black wires, that's your thermal switch. And the red one above it, the third wire up there in the connector, that goes over to the clutch. So what I did is loosen this 8mm screw that holds this little plate, is just what holds that thermal switch in there. And I said, you know what, I know these switches go bad all the time, so let me try something. Went over to my freezer and chipped off a little block of ice. Had to put the phone down for that, but there we go. And now I'm going to take this block of ice and stick it on the back of this thermal switch sensor. Let it cool down and we'll see if the compressor kicks on. That's just the fan turning on. Pretty cool temperature there. You got to hold it right on the back of the sensor. My phone just overheated, so I had to let it cool down for a second. Doesn't help with that red blowing on it. Let's get back to the test. Alright, that's taking a lot longer than it did last time. Let me give it a little tap, a little love tap. I suppose this is another method. There it goes. Boom. Compressor came on. So that means your thermal switch is bad, and I guess the tap method works too. But now, I guess I could say that this way, what if your compressor is actually overheating? That's extremely uncommon. You don't see that often, and you do see these thermal switches go bad all the time on a Honda. So I'll plug a link to that part down below. You can replace it separately, but I'll warn you, it's very hard to get out of there because it has like this paste that holds it in too. It pretty much gets ripped to shreds when you take it apart and take it out of there. And if your car has, 220,000 miles like this one does, it's not a bad idea to just put a whole new compressor in there. But if you want to save the factory OEM one, you can do that and replace just the thermal switch. So yeah, drop this video a thumbs up if it helped you. I thought that little ice trick was pretty cool. And the first time I did it, I just held the ice on there for about a minute, maybe 30 seconds, a minute, and the compressor clicked on, which told me, yes, the computer is being told the compressor is too hot, and the compressor is not too hot. In fact, just to verify, let's see what the temperature is. The compressor is 173 degrees, so totally normal. It's not overheating. And the engine oil pan is 192. Oh, and check this out, it's acting up again. Now that it's getting hot, it keeps going on and off and on and off. There you go, that's definitely a verified bad switch. I just realized some of you guys might comment, why don't you just bypass the thermal protector? And well, I'm not exactly sure how to do that by looking at this, because you see the two wires coming in, right? And you go to this thermal switch, but the one just goes and deadheads at this junction connector, which like if it went to ground, that would make a lot more sense to me, but it doesn't according to this diagram. And the other runs to the switch. And as I'm editing this footage, I realized I said the wrong thing in the video. Looking back at this, so if in normal operation these two wires are connected together, then all you would do to bypass this thermal protector, and I could be wrong, comment down below if I am, but you would disconnect the connector at the compressor, and then on the harness side of it, you would bridge these two wires together, basically just taking like a little horseshoe piece of copper wire to bridge them together, and then the computer should not be thinking that the compressor is overheating, and it should function properly. Or I guess you could just check with disconnect it and use an ohm meter to check on the compressor side, and you should have continuity between them two wires going to your thermal protector. But the ice trick works too. Alright guys, well, I'm going to back this car out. Just spoke to the customer. He's going to come pick it up because he doesn't want to do the, I hear that thing clicking on again over there, but he doesn't want to do it today. He says he's going to bring it back, so we'll see. Sorry, couldn't really complete the video for you, but I definitely wanted to make this just to show you my diagnostic route that I took. and show you the ice trick, because I thought that was kind of a cool way to verify that the thermal switch is bad. Maybe the tap trick works too. Plug me a comment down below, some feedback. Check out any other videos on the channel. All that kind of stuff helps me out a little bit. And yeah, until next time, this is Chris Brown here. No nonsense, no how. Hopefully see you in another one. Oh, and I truly do apologize if I go too fast in these videos and I just speak a million miles a minute, or I jump around, or I leave things out. But you know, the only reason they're not complaining about me shooting a video here or there at work is because they pretty much don't see me. I'm like in and out with it. I try to be as quick as I can, right? It's otherwise, I mean, there's other cars that have to be fixed. So sorry about that. I know, instructing too fast, it's not good.